Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the channel. My name is Sky, and I have some very, very exciting news. My buddy Kutsu just sent me this. Coolest guy ever, by the way. Always supporting. Here's his channel right here. Awesome, awesome guy. Great musket player. He just sent me a link to the New World December team update. And what this video pretty much is that it's the New World development team, and it's what they're going to be doing for the future, what's going on now, a bunch of different questions. And listen, I'm not going to watch this whole hour-and-a-half video. I don't want to take up too much of your guys' time, but there are a couple spots that I do want to go into. Like right here, it says new feature mutators. So that's about the mythic type of dungeons. We also have new weapons coming out. Oh man, that's getting crazy. And late game progression would be something I do want to get into. So without further ado, let's head on over to new features. By the way, the links to this video will be in the description below or right up here. New features.
No, thanks.
All right.
Absolutely.
New feature, mutations.
Okay, and for this next segment, we're going to be talking about a new feature coming to New World, mutators. And so I'm joined again by Mike, Rob, and Charles. So if you want to just kick it off, Mike, what are mutators and how do they work?
So mutators are augments to AI, elite AI, and named AI in expeditions.
Yeah.
NAI. So they're augments to the AI, and they're on a weekly schedule and cadence, and they go through different rotations, and they're presented as challenges to the player. And they're a great way to test out your gear, your power level, and to increase your power level. So every week you take on a new expedition with a new set of mutations and challenges. So you'll go sign up at the board, you go up with your group, you enter. You'll see the challenges before you actually enter. So you'll see what the week's challenges are, so you can better equip your gear, your consumables, and prep yourself to do several runs. And so expect to
several runs. That's interesting. I wonder if they're going to go based off of a key system like they do now. Several runs. Maybe it's like World of Warcraft where, you know, maybe it just keeps on increasing over and over in power level. I'm not sure what they mean by several runs. That's something to keep note of.
play this upcoming. It's something that we think is going to be super fun for a lot of our hardcore PvEers.
Right.
Because every single type of mutation presents a new and unique challenge. So as you're going through it, you might get shocked where certain enemies just start exploding, or they start leaving like areas of effect that you need to now navigate around. And you might be presented with different curses or different things that impact your core abilities that you weren't ready for before.
Yeah.
So we think it adds a unique twist to the formula and makes things
Yeah, dude.
really challenging and rewarding.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it's like it's taking, you know, the things that you're familiar with, adding.
Look at that
these
beautiful.
mutators.
Look at that beautiful musket rapier combo on that table, man. My God. Look at the beautiful musket up top too, right up there. Ooh.
On top of it, so it's basically like new content to the game that you
Love
can
it, man.
understand, and it's just making things different. Is that?
Yeah. It's a different type of variation of content. So when you're going into it, one way that you expected to play against an enemy is going to change completely by the way that you interact with it.
Apparently, the interviewer doesn't understand what the concept of a dungeon mutation is, on how it variates between, you know, what they are brought to you. I guess I don't know. I guess he doesn't play video
So it'll
games
have
or
different
something.
affixes,
I don't know why he's
different
doing the
types of
interviews.
Curses and what we
Jesus,
call promotions.
get Damone Kim over
and
there.
each week there'll be a new combination of those things to challenge yourself.
Family in it, right? You got the corrupted in one, you got the angry earth in another one, and then when you get into the mutators, they're going to behave, and you know they're going to have bonuses that are different than what they normally have. So it's going to really change up the whole combat dynamic in each expedition. I mean, yeah, I think that's accurate.
So it's primarily about expeditions, but what about like invasions and outpost rush? Are mutators going to like make their way into shaking things?
Yo, who do they have interviewing this dude?
Things up in those?
So that's something that we're currently exploring. And so when we run the PTR
Mutations and
that's upcoming in
OPR?
January, and we run mutations, we're going to get a lot of great feedback from that, and we're going to see how that applies. And so when we run the PTR that's upcoming in January, and we run mutations, we're going to get a lot of great feedback.
Wait a second. That's big news. Dungeon mutations in January? Next month? I think he just confirmed it. I think he just slipped up. Hold on, go back.
PTR that's upcoming in January.
He said they're doing testing on the upcoming PTR in January, which means it can come out with the January update. Keep it
We're
going.
going to get a lot of great feedback from that, and we're going to see how that applies to going to an even larger scale.
Okay. And so are there rewards? Are there Charles, are there different rewards that come from doing something that has a mutator on it or mutations?
Yes, absolutely. Each of the dungeon, or each of the expeditions, there's a whole new unique set of rewards for every single expedition that goes with mutators, and some sort of rotating rewards as well, depending on what the mutations are. So we really wanted these challenges for players to feel really rewarding, not just in the content itself, but in the visuals that you get from that. So there's a bunch of new unique sets with really cool visuals that I'm super excited for players to see. That'll just feel like when you've accomplished these different challenges, you can show that off in town and be able to,
okay, so it's just cosmetics. I wonder if there's going to be a gear score
really
increase as
demonstrate
well.
your sort of accomplishment over these things.
Do you have one that's your favorite?
Oh man.
Again, it's picking your favorite child,
yeah, I know.
right?
That's tough. I think what's most exciting for me is we've been able to take a lot of the core visual styles from each of these families, the corrupted or the lost, etc., and really amp them up to a new level for these outfits, for the rewards for players. So there's a lot
So
of
it's
really
just cosmetic
cool,
skins?
unique looks that'll feel different than the stuff that's in the game now, and lets us artistically express kind of where we think the game could go visually. So I'm pretty excited about that.
I think tying into those rewards, it should be said there's 10 difficulty levels each time that you run one of these.
Okay, so there's 10 levels. It's a cap of 10. Okay, that's great. And wow, I think you could just keep going, but there's a 10. They just named that as well.
Expedition mutations,
Okay.
for the week. So what you're trying to do is climb up that ladder, and it's going to challenge your gear and your level. And so every time you pass a certain score threshold, you unlock the next mutation level. And so it starts increasing in difficulty every single time that you jump up.
That makes sense.
So sometimes you're going to be able to punch above your weight, and other times it's going to become very difficult, and it's going to take a lot more coordination and planning to start to get up towards that level 10 mark.
Okay, so it seems like this guy is the only one who actually knows what he's talking about in this whole interview.
Right.
And so we expect players to coordinate well, get their gear in line, and every single time that you run it, you're going to get rewards, but you're trying to keep climbing the ladder because the reward pool gets bigger and it gets better, and it becomes a guaranteed way to increase your power level.
Got it.
Okay. Wow, this is so freaking awesome. Oh my god. And this is coming out next month. This is 30 days away, ladies and gentlemen. We have 30 days to prepare for Dungeon Mutations.
Is it true that do some of the drops and some of the mutators, aren't they more effective in other ones? Do they help you for the other ones?
Absolutely. It just depends on what the combination is, because there's going to be some things where you're going to need more fire resistance, or you're going to need to do more ice damage. And so depending on what week it is and what expedition you're running, you're going to have to, adjust to that. And so, yeah, some of those will feed into those other activities, which could be useful in other activities that you do, whether it's in PvP or Outpost Rush or any of the other game modes. Because you're oh, this person is wearing this type of gear. I'm going to challenge that by, equipping stuff that's maybe more heavy and elemental or avoid damage.
Okay, I think I grok mutators now. But you mentioned keys. Is there keys. Grind to get these keys?
So unlike our vanilla expeditions, the keys here are universal. So once you have a mutation key, you can use it in any mutation.
That's good. That's good. We don't have to grind out keys. That wouldn't make any sense. That's perfect.
And because we want players to run these more frequently, they're going to be more freely available. And so during the PTR, we're going to figure out, hey, what is the right amount that you should be carrying at any given time, and where do we think players are going to be climbing the ladder. So we'll make adjustments in tuning based off of that. But our goal is to have this as repeatable every day.
Yeah.
Nice, dude.
Awesome.
Multiple times every day.
Yeah, and so you were just touching on when we might see this. Rob?
January.
January.
You'll see it on PTR in January, and then it's coming up soon, the release. It kind of depends on
January.
a lot of factors.
It's January.
And I mean, obviously
January,
jumping into the PTR for everybody out there is intrinsically valuable for us, right? So jump into the PTR, give us feedback on all of these new features, things you discover.
Right. Anyway, play in the PTR. It's going to be fantastic. We're going to have the rotations accelerated so you can participate in more and see how high up the ladder you can climb.
Hell yeah.
Right on. Thanks, guys.
Hell yeah.
think everyone's going to be really excited about the mutators and how they're going to change up the game.
Wow, that is so good. I'm so damn excited. I don't know if balance and tuning is going to be super important. Right now, we're going to go to the new weapons. I'm going to watch the balance and tuning on my own. If it is really important, then I'll make a reaction to it and maybe we'll discuss it. Let's go to the new weapons for now, though. My guess is Blunderbuss is coming in February-ish. Hopefully January. Let's see.
All right, so this next segment is going to be all about weapons in New World. And both of these gentlemen are heavily involved in how the weapons work, adding new weapons, tweaking the weapons we currently have. So this question will be for you, Dave. What do you think about when you are coming up with a new weapon, or what weapon should be introduced next?
There's a couple things. I think first, we always want to introduce weapons that bring new playstyles to the game, right? Like something that really changes up the gameplay.
Of course.
Like with the Void Gauntlet, our most recently introduced
Look
weapon.
at that pistol in the back. Look at the pistol, ladies and gentlemen.
We really
They're
wanted
not
to
fooling
bring
me.
this idea of debuffing and sort of a counter to some healing and
Love
debuffing
that.
as a different playstyle. So definitely look in with each weapon to bring in something new that changes up gameplay. The second thing we look at is sort of trying to fill gaps, right? Like we heard loud and clear from healers, hey, what do I use with my life staff? And I think the Void Gauntlet was like a complement to that. Like those two weapons pair
staff,
really well together.
confirmed.
So also just trying to fill gaps like that.
Okay, and speaking of weapons kind of pairing together, can you talk about the Blunderbuss and how it might be different from the musket?
Yeah, I'd love to talk about it.
Yeah.
So the Blunderbuss, a really exciting new weapon we'll be coming out with pretty soon here. And it's, when you think of the musket, it's a little more of a strategic weapon. It's a longer range, a little lower rate of fire, all those type of things. But when you get to the Blunderbuss, you're going to think more excitement, more explosion, a little more chaotic, I would call it. There's some navigational tools on it.
Oh,
which are
snap,
really
dude.
exciting, and a little more of a run and gun style. So a definite different in pace for this one in comparison to the musket. And it's going to be a little more short to mid-range.
Oh.
And also, I think it's going to pair really, really nicely with some melee weapons. So
Nice.
and
Hell
maybe
yeah.
even some staffs.
Whoa.
So I think it's going to pair really, really nicely with some melee weapons. So and maybe even some staffs. So
Staffs. Is this an intellect-based weapon? Oh no. I don't know. You don't just say staffs for nothing.
it's going to be an interesting weapon that has a lot of different uses.
Is that a hint on what it scales based on?
Yeah, a little bit. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that yet.
All right. Speaking of weapons that are heavily requested and talked about by the community, the Greatsword.
Oh!
Can you tell me anything about it?
We are working on a great sword.
Oh my
we've
gosh.
heard it. I think it's going to be an awesome weapon.
Be like freaking William Wallace, dude.
We talked about wanting to change up gameplay with each weapon. Don't want to give away too much yet about the great sword, but I think it'll have this concept of stance switching. And
Oh my god. You could stance dance with the freaking greatsword, dude. Oh my god, that's so
having different
cool.
modes within the weapon that I think will be really special and bring something new to the table.
Okay. I mean, that sounds great because people are knocking down our doors for
Oh
that
my God,
great sword.
dude.
Another thing people are also asking a lot about is daggers.
Oh! Daggers, dude. Ladies and gentlemen, if you know me, if you're into the stream at all, we want daggers, dude. Look at the face. Look at the face. He knows it's coming. Both of them do. That little face, that grin,
Is that
dude.
something coming down the road, or?
Yeah, daggers are definitely a crowd favorite. We have a lot of different weapons on our table that we're looking at to make after the greatsword, and I think it's
Wait.
definitely.
Oh, damn. Okay, so what's probably going to happen is it's going to be Blunderbuss, Greatsword, and then daggers.
At the table. I don't think it's
Big table?
It's a pretty large table with a lot of different weapons on it, and I think it's one that is near the front, but it's not quite there yet.
Okay.
Damn.
I'll take that as an answer.
Okay, but it's confirmed.
And another one of the last questions that we see just asked constantly is, when can I use a shield and another single-handed weapon?
Oh.
That one hasn't made the table yet. And
Oh,
I
that
just want
one's-
to be a little.
that one's still outside
that one's-
knocking on the door?
It's trying to get a seat at the
Okay.
table, and it's something we really want to do, but it's actually a really large endeavor for us to accomplish this,
That's
and
tough.
we want to focus on filling in the other places.
Because honestly, then they would have to maybe respec. I don't even know. They would have to figure out some sort of new system with
the
that.
other weapons first before we go over to that area.
Okay, all right. So it's knocking on the door,
knocking there.
but we hear the feedback.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think we wouldn't do, like, it's going to take us a while to really build out a system where you could flexibly interchange weapons like that. But like creating another weapon that does pair with the shield, sort of like sword and shield, like making a specific pairing, is something that is not on the table yet, so to speak, but
Right.
but could be sooner.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you have a favorite weapon pairing, or has it changed since since you started designing the game a while ago?
I was a big great axe hammer sword user, so but that recently the
Of course, he's a great axe hammer user. Look at him.
meta shifting a little bit, which is cool in a game. So
Oh, meta shift. Oh, yeah. Of course there is. Because it was broken.
looking for my new pairing now.
Yeah, I always run sword and shield, and great axe, and added in the war hammer and great axe, and now
These are the people developing our weapons, though. That's a little worrisome.
I'm actually doing warhammer and arrow. I just like the bow and arrow now. So.
Warhammer and arrow. I can respect that, though.
We watch like a ton of streams, a lot of content creators. We play in game with all these folks. Has there been anything that like surprised you in the way people are pairing weapons or kind of their build?
Maybe not a pairing, but one of the things that I loved was some of the creative uses of the Ice Gauntlet, like the sneak up PvP moves, like we see people hiding behind a bush and like see a big PvP mob come in, and then they like jump out of the bush and put Blizzard and all these things on and sort of like melt the whole group. That was super cool to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things I really enjoyed was people just playing around and making their own paladin build. That was something we actually had not really thought about when we were making all these updates to our weapons and everything. And when we first saw it, I was like, this is amazing. It might have been a little overpowered for the people playing against it, so we might have made a little changes there. But overall, we just love the fact that people can kind of go in there and make their own class. And I think that's just an amazing thing.
Yeah, I mean, what's been really cool, like having worked on New World for so long, like the game now belongs to everybody else, right? And we're kind of just witnessing how they're engaging with it. Before it's been, kind of theory crafting and
All right, here's the end game
end-game
content.
We have Dave and Phil both here to talk about this. I think one of the big things that the community is asking about, and it's kind of a hot topic right now, is why did you decide to remove the high watermark system?
Yes.
Well, I
Thank
think
God,
there
it
were
was
some
awful.
improvements we wanted to make is how I would classify it. And I think the two big things I think of is one, the high watermark system was completely random, so players had no control over it. And with the gypsum system, players can do activities and then get gypsum and choose which casts they craft, right? So if you want to increase your sword, you can do that. You have some control over it. And that's really important because sometimes you just get unlucky with rolls. And if you have a weapon or a piece of gear you really want to advance, not being able to could be sort of devastating. So that was one big thing. The other thing is we just wanted more variety of activities, right? Like with the old system, it really rewarded named enemies, right? And almost too much. It was too inefficient of a path. And so everyone just did that, and they missed all this other cool endgame content we have. So with the different gypsums, all the different activities, you have incentives to do everything. You can do corrupted breaches, you can do all the different activities, expeditions, arenas, which I think is some of the most fun and difficult content in the game that no one's really doing. So we really wanted to bring people to all the content we have made.
Sure.
On top of that, too, I think it's worth noting that we're no longer calling it the high watermark system. We're calling it expertise, because that's really what it is. You're raising your level of expertise on each weapon or type of item that you can equip in the game. And another big thing, too, that we've done to help give it a lot more structure, and one of the big misses that we had when we initially rolled it out is it was invisible to players. So now, when you go into your paper doll, you can see, what is your level of expertise per every item that you have equipped. Also, when you do get a bump now in your expertise, you get a nice notification that pops up on screen, this big, beautiful banner that lets you know just what you got and what it affected, and it feels great. I love it now. It's like after you loot a chest or kill an expedition boss, and you get
Take a
like
breath,
that
man.
item that raises your expertise up. You get this nice toast, and it just feels like you just got stronger. It's really cool now.
Nice.
I
That's
agree.
great.
I do agree, though.
There's another question that keeps kind of arising is why downscaling gear instead of raising the gear score to a new cap?
That's a good question. Well, when we looked at players' progression along the expertise system, we did see that very, very few people had actually maxed out their expertise, and we wanted to address that portion before even attempting to raise the gear score. So with the gypsum system and surfacing the expertise now to players, we're giving, as Dave mentioned, a lot more control to players to start to grow and progress on that path and have it feel more tangible to them as they do it. The other thing too is when we do raise our gear score, we want to attach that to some good meaty content. We don't just want to raise it just because,
to raise it.
if that makes sense. We want to make sure that there's a reason that you need to get to above 600 gear score now to go attack some larger threats in the game.
Yeah. How do you
new locations?
How do you see these changes affecting crafters?
I think what we want for crafters is for them to be able to participate, but in their own way, right? Like we don't want to have to force them into activities. And what crafters most want to do is craft, right? Like they love gathering the materials and then, developing their skills, the trophies, the potions, their gear set to really maximize crafting. So what we want to do is give them a path towards that. So any crafted gear will never be downscaled or affected by expertise. So it's an alternative path to get towards end game gear. Because we know these people invest a lot of time and effort in getting that. So we want them to have a viable path.
Yeah, and make sure that still feels rewarding. Another thing we're doing too, we're adding a new reward type as well along with the system. And as players battle in these our end game zones, they can acquire a new type of item called a timeless shard, and these will be either armor or weapon shards. And when they're crafted, what they'll provide, they basically act as an artifact recipe. So it's a one-time use craft, but with that craft, players will have a guaranteed attribute. So you get a timeless bow shard as an example that would have a fixed dexterity attribute. And then you can also control what perk you put on that with the perk mods during crafting. So there's a lot more control that those items are going to give crafters in pursuit of that perfect roll.
It's
of
very
item.
good.
Right.
I love that.
And are those pretty rare, Phil? Can you sell them when you get them?
They are pretty rare. But I think if you run the elite zones enough and you're doing the end game content, you should come across them frequently enough. And can you sell them?
Yeah,
of course you can. Of course you can.
What I like about our
This guy doesn't know. He doesn't know.
crafting system is that anyone can engage in it if they want, but we also don't force it, right? Like, so what's cool is like if I'm not a crafter and I get one of these timeless shards, it's sort of like hitting a little mini jackpot, right? Like I know I can go to the trading post and sell this thing to a crafter who's really going to want it.
Right.
Yep. Yeah.
Right. So going back to the gypsums a little bit, why aren't all gypsums the same? And why does it take more time to create something with one type of gypsum over another?
That's a good question. So the different activities that Dave mentioned and doing things like running expeditions, opening elite chests, killing bosses or elite named enemies, right? Participating in Outpost Rush. A lot of different in crafting and closing max level corruption breaches in the world. All these things will give you different colors of gypsum. And then the recipes, they require different amounts of gypsum because some of those activities are much more easy to accomplish than others. So you might have to open 3 elite, have to get a good roll out of 3 elite chests versus like getting a good roll off of killing more elite named enemies or things like that. And then things like expedition and outpost rush that take a little bit longer of your time would you have to do less of those to be able to craft a gypsum cast.
Okay.
And we got a super interesting 8th gypsum that we recently added with the Winter Convergence event. We wanted to just keep increasing the rewards based on feedback we saw in the PTR, and also give something for endgame players to do. So we've now introduced Diamond Gypsum into the Winter Convergence event, and so that'll be an 8th way you can get a cast, which I think people will really enjoy.
Nice. So there are people who think that expeditions aren't worth their time and effort, and they're just not doing them. Do you agree?
They're trash.
Well, no, I think there really
600
is
watermark.
some truth to that to a level, and we've been working hard to try to address a lot of that. With this update, I think that expeditions become a really great source for leveling your expertise. In an expedition, you get a guaranteed random expertise drop when you defeat an expedition boss. You're also going to be opening elite chests, which have the possibility to reward you with obsidian gypsum. And you also get specific gypsum from doing the expedition itself. So if you're completing these dungeon runs, that gives you almost 3 opportunities per the time invested in that dungeon, that expedition run to increase your expertise. So it's pretty rewarding.
And I love
and
that.
timeless
I love
shards
that.
will really come from expeditions, right? That's one of the main sources.
That's one
also,
of the main sources for timeless weapon and item shards for sure.
Nice. Earlier in the show, we talked a lot about the mutators. How do you see the mutators affecting the end game?
A lot. So Phil said, we don't want to increase gear score until we have new meaningful content that brings hard challenges. And I'm sure, as Mike said, mutators are hard, like really hard. So this is going to be a time where we increase the gear score because you're going to need it to deal with the difficulty 10 mutators. So we're not going too much into details yet, but as you do mutators, you're going to be getting a new resource that you can use to upgrade specific weapons. And you'll need to sort of do that as you're ranking up in the difficulty chain on mutators. You'll have to keep increasing your gear a little bit to sort of keep up with the more difficult enemies.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That sounds awesome. I'm really excited about these changes, guys.
They're going to be great.
Man.
I'm super excited. I'm really excited for our players to just get in there and start feeling the power.
Feel the power.
I think it's just really palpable now when you get in there and you start earning your expertise bumps and you start getting those good rolls and crafting your gypsum. Like it all feels really rewarding. So I'm really excited for people to experience it.
All right, great. Thanks for sitting down and talking about Endgame with
Okay,
us.
that's great. I mean, listen, I think that's going to be the end of this video. There's a couple of other things they went over here, like quest and lore, Winter Convergence Festival, the bugs, the bots, their plans and stuff. Listen, I think we went over the most crucial stuff. I'm so damn excited about this game. Listen, next month is going to come Mutations. I'm going to be making guides on them, dude. I'm going to be making guides for the musket and maybe Rapier combo, or maybe musket and void blade combo, or maybe the musket and void gauntlet combo. I'm damn excited. I am damn excited to be able to do this and be a part of this, man. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I mean, amazing information here. I'm really, really excited for this game. My name's Sky from the Comeback Kids. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.